Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at multiplication with decimals. Now I use the Chinese grid method, so if that's not the technique that you use, I'm going to suggest that this isn't the video for you. However, if you want to check out the Chinese grid method or maybe brush up your skills on how to do it, I do have a video, I'll put the link in the description, and I definitely recommend watching that before we get started on these questions. Here we go. So I've got 3.6 times by 8. Now the first thing I'm going to kind of point out is that if I'm going to multiply decimals, both of the numbers need a decimal. So you can clearly see that 3.6, there is the decimal point. I'm going to need to make sure I've got a decimal point in 8 as well. Now 8 does have a decimal point, it's just after the actual number. So I need to make sure that they've both got decimals before I start. Now I can put this into my Chinese grid though. So here we go. I've got 3.6 multiplied by 8 points. Don't forget the point because I'm going to need that in a short while. Here comes my grid, there it is, and I've got two values there, so don't forget the vertical split, and I've only got one value here, so I don't need to split it horizontally in any way. Don't forget the diagonals, top right to bottom left, and top right to bottom left. Now, what I'm going to do is make sure that I extend these lines out a little bit further. Again, from my other video, you'll be able to see that. And now I'm ready to answer this question. So let's fill in the numbers first. I've got 6 times by 8, which is 48, and 3 times by 8, which is 24. So let's quickly calculate that answer now. In the first diagonal, I've got an 8. In the second diagonal, I've got 4 and a 4, which also makes an 8. And in the third diagonal, I have got 2. Okay, so where does the decimal point live? Now the technique that I use is, I'm going to look at the decimal point here, I'm going to look at the decimal point here, and I'm going to kind of join them up, one vertically and one horizontally until they touch each other. Okay, so as you can kind of see, when I do this with my pen or pencil, they're going to meet here, because that one will come down vertically and this one will come down horizontally, and they'll meet here. When they hit that point, they'll come down a slope. So that slope is going down here, so my decimal point is going to end up between the 8 and the 8. So all I need to do now is make sure I write down my answer is 28.8, because the decimal point ended up between the two 8s, and that is my answer. Let's try another one. Okay, so this time they've already both got decimal points visual, so okay, I'm ready to go. I've got 1.5 multiplied by 3.4. Okay, so here is my grid, nice and big. Remember, the neater this is, the easier it will be to do, so make sure it's nice and neat. Top right, bottom left, top right, bottom left, top right, bottom left, and top right, bottom left. And again, just kind of extend these out a little bit, don't have to go too far, extend them out so we can put our answers in those sections. Right, we're ready to go. So our first one is 5 times by 3, 15. 5 times by 4 is 20. 1 times by 3 is 3, and 1 times by 4 is 4. Okay, so I'm going to put the decimal, in fact I'll do the numbers first. Here we go. 0 in the first diagonal, so there it is. In the second diagonal I've got 3 numbers. I've got 5, 2 and a 4. If I add them all together though, I get 11. So I'm going to put the 1 down and carry a 1 into the next group ready. In the next diagonal across, I've got 1, 3 and a 0, so that's 4. With the extra 1 is 5. And I don't need to put anything in the last digit because I've got a 0 there anyway. But where does the decimal point live? So there's the decimal point and there's the decimal point. Again, they're going to meet at a perpendicular line. One's horizontal, one's vertical, and I can clearly see that that's where those two decimal points are going to meet. And they'll slide down this line until they land in between the 5 and the 1. So my answer is going to be 5.10. There it is. Let's try another one. Okay, so this time I've got 3.26, so I can see the decimal point, but remember, if a number doesn't have a decimal point, it's after it. So there is 4 point. Right, I'm going to write this out like this. So I've got 3.26 multiplied by 4 point. Don't forget the point down here because we need that. Okay, here is the grid. Okay, I've got 3 values on the top, so I need a split number there and a split number here. And top right to bottom left, top right to bottom left, top right to bottom left. And again, just extend them a little bit further. There we go. Okay, so let's do the numbers. So we got 6 times by 4, that'll be 24. 2 times by 4 is 8, and 3 times by 4 is 12. Let's do our calculating now. So the first diagonal, I've got a 4. The next one, I've got a 2 and an 8. So a 2 and an 8 will make 10, so I'll put the 0 down and put the 1 over here just to help out. I've got a 0 and a 2 in the next one, which is 2, plus this one is 3. And then in this one, I've got a 1 this time. Where's the decimal point going to live this time? So there's the one decimal point, here is the other, there's a vertical line, there is a horizontal line. I can clearly see that's where they've joined together, and it's going to slide down this line until it's in between the 3 and the 0. So my answer is going to be 13.04. Okay, next question. 0.7 times by 5.6. They both have decimals already visible, so I'm ready to go. I'm going to do 0.7 multiplied by 5.6. Here we go. So here's my grid. The neater, the better. So a split line there and a split line there. Top right to bottom left, top right to bottom left, top right to bottom left, top right to bottom left. And just extend those lines out slightly, because that's where we're going to put our answers. Okay, let's do the multiplication parts. 7 times by 5 is 35, and 7 times by 6 is 42. Anything times by 0 is 0, so that one's going to be easy enough, and 0 times by 6 again is 0. Let's do our calculating. We got 2 in the first diagonal. In the next diagonal, I've got 3 numbers, 5, 4, and 0, which will make a total of 9. And in the next diagonal, I've got 0, 0, and 3, which has a total of 3. And I don't need to bother with that one because it's got 0 in there anyway. The decimal, where's that going to go? Well, there's the first one, there's the second. So vertical line, horizontal line, I can clearly see that's where they're going to meet. So it jumps to there and jumps to there. And it's going to slide down this slope until it's in between the 3 and the 9. So my answer is going to be 3.92. Okay. Okay, it's time for you to have a go. Pause the video here, try and attempt as many questions as you can. Remember all the little rules. Definitely have a piece of paper and a pen to have a go at these. I'm going to put the answers on the board in a short while, and good luck. Okay, here come the answers. Give them a tick, give them a cross. Hopefully you got them all right. Sometimes you might get the actual digits correct, but you might put the decimal place in the wrong place. But have a look at your working out. Make sure you've got them all as good as you can get them. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to know about multiplying decimals. So hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you're going to take that on board. And thanks for watching.